Hello and welcome to another episode of Boomer Live. Today we are going to be talking about the English Premier League. Of course, the season is going to begin. We're just one day away from that big season which is awaiting us 2022 2023. A lot of expectations, some big signings for some big teams. I have Anath with me on the show. Welcome, Anath.
Hi, Bill. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Of course, I'm very excited for this new season, of course, because we all are. So let's just get going. Anat, initial thoughts about this season because this transfer window was a crazy one, definitely for a lot of Premier League clubs. They've made some important signings. They've not rushed. If you look at Liverpool, City, Chelsea, they've not rushed through it, but they made some important, crucial signings. Filling in those holes of the players who they've left got. Tottenham was very good in the transfer window. Arsenal was, as we discussed earlier. So, what are your expectations from this season?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the Premier League has become stronger than ever now. Again, every season it keeps getting stronger and stronger. World class players from other leagues keep coming to the Premier League, and we have it again this season with Darwin Nunez, Koulibaly, and so many other players, even Haaland.
Yeah.
We have many new players coming from abroad, Perisic. So yeah, I think I'm very excited. As I said, even we had some nice episodes of transfer talk. We seem pretty
Right.
excited. And now, finally, tomorrow it kicks off with Crystal Palace versus Arsenal. So,
Absolutely.
very excited.
Okay, now let's get into the main event, right? Like we are here for the prediction of the season. I know it's way too early to predict. It's almost 10 months long season and we have a World Cup break as well. So anything can happen this season because it's a very weird season for many reasons because you have a 2 month gap in between for the first time ever. So another get to you. Who do you reckon can finish at the top of the table? Is it the usual suspects or do you see someone different?
No, I think Man City to win again this season, the Premier League. So they've signed Haaland. They've got Calvin Phillips arriving as well, and the strong is very good. And with Guardiola, I'm sure it'll only get better. They have had some departures in Fernandinho, Sterling, Gabriel Jesus, and Zinchenko. But I think they still have a lot of depth in their squad, and with the stumbling in the Community Shield, they've got their wake up call as well. I think it was good they lost to Liverpool in the Community Shield. So that it's like a nice wake up call to start practicing again, a little bit of pinch to come back to reality and stop celebrating. So I think City
Absolutely.
will definitely pick it up this season, and yeah, I think they'll take the title again.
True. I mean, that's going to be very interesting because City back-to-back titles, and let's talk about a team which would possibly, challenge City. And who do you see will challenge City? Is it going to be Liverpool, or do you see someone new coming in?
Of course, I think it'll be a really, it's really tough one to predict the rest of the top. I mean, even to predict the top of the table, it's very tough. Anything can happen in football. But I think all three of these teams will fight really hard, and I think this is what the top four will look like because Liverpool, as Salah, Mo Salah, last
Yeah.
year's playmaker of the season, and Golden Boot as well, and Luis Diaz settling in so well into the squad right after entering. From January, he's been so well. And
Absolutely.
Nunez, as we saw in preseason, he had 4 goals in one of the friendlies.
Yeah.
But yeah, it will be tough to see because Mane's departure will definitely make a difference in the squad.
Mm.
He was so well settled and what a great player. So it remains to be
Yeah.
seen. And
I mean, how impressed are you with Darwin Nunez? Because Nunez, the moment he has arrived in Liverpool, he has made his name very clear because he's a pressing machine, as we all know him for. Even in Benfica, he had a very good season there, and that's one of the reasons why he was bought for such a high price by a team who doesn't really actually spend high. So now with Nunez and with Luis Diaz, and also with Salah, who has been top form for the last 4 seasons,
right.
how do you
No,
see
I
this
think
team
Nunez
progressing?
definitely, as you said, Darwin Nunez is not only good inside the box, but he's also very good coming in from the left wing, onto his right foot. He's really dangerous like that as well, like Mane was. And I think he's a great replacement and he's strong, center forward, tall, good in the air as well. So I think it's a great signing and definitely he'll be an important man in Liverpool's campaign this season.
Yeah, interestingly, we have Chelsea at number three. It looks like the table of the last season, except we've got a different team at number four. Chelsea fans would say that they've not had the best of transfer windows. Their defense is still, yet to be filled. They're trying to get Mark Kukurea at left back. They're trying to go for another center back as well. They did not get Jules Kunde, who was one of their prime candidates for last 3 seasons. They wanted Jules Kunde, and he has ended up in Barcelona as well. Now with Rudiger's departure, Thiago Silva, the wrong side of 30s. Do you really see them finishing at number 3, or do you see them
Definitely.
actually slipping down a little bit as well?
No, I think Koulibaly is a great signing in defense. I think he's better than Rudiger. I mean, he's a great leader. We spoke about him during the transfer talk as well. We know how good he is. They're yet to replace Christensen, but they have a lot of young talent in Chaloba and Mason Mount, Havertz, Pulisic. They have
Yeah.
signed Sterling as well. And I think Timo Werner will have a point to prove this season with a horrible start to his Chelsea career. I think
Hmm.
it's very important for him to perform this season. The pressure will be on, but he's that kind of striker who we know. In the past he has got 20-25 goals in a single season, so he's a goal scorer. So maybe he'll get into his rhythm this time. I mean, Thomas Tuchel is a great manager. We saw as soon as he came, as
Yeah.
soon as he arrived to replace Lampard, he won the Champions League. So I
Yeah.
think you can never write Chelsea off, and I think that they're better off than the other clubs from the Big Six. Even
So
though they haven't had the
you
best of transfer
expect Chelsea
windows,
to win the London, right? Chelsea will be the winners of London for sure then.
definitely. I think
And because
Chelsea
we
will
spoke
be
about London, let's speak about another team from London. It is Tottenham Hotspurs. They've been in the
excellent.
market. They've been very active in the market, especially with Antonio Conte taking officially in charge, and he has got a full transfer window to work with. He made some big signings, a more Antonio Conte like systematic signings, where he brought in Perisic. He got
Absolutely.
so many options of wing back. They got in a defensive midfielder in Bissouma, and of course they got Richarlison as well now. How do you see this Tottenham Hotspurs? And can they even be a title contender? Because we are
Definitely.
downplaying the team for way too long now, and how
Absolutely.
how tactically astute manager Antonio Conte is.
Absolutely. We saw Antonio Conte in his second season with Chelsea won the Premier League. And now, as you said, they've had a fantastic transfer window with Longley, Perisic, Bissouma. They've got a second goalkeeper as well in Foster. And as you said, Richarlison with Bergwijn signing another year on his contract. I think Spurs have done excellent work in the transfer window. And they definitely have a chance to challenge for the top two. But a safe bet would be Spurs at number four. But as you know, Heung-min Son and Harry Kane, if they get their thing going, they might score 40,
Yeah.
50 goals between them. In all
Absolutely,
competition.
absolutely.
So who
L-
knows?
Let's talk about the other half, because the other half of the table is so important as well over here. Because last time we saw, United and Arsenal finish at number 5, number 6, and are we seeing a repeat again? Because United, under the new manager, they've had a very good preseason. They were top notch there in terms of applying the system. Eric Ten Hag seems to be a manager who's very demanding. You saw that with the match where he played against where Ronaldo played against Rayo Vallecano as well. He went up even against a player of Ronaldo's stature in terms of the demands he has. And Arsenal also has had a very good transfer window with Gabriel Jesus, moving into the North London team. Uh, if you have to play between United and Arsenal, who do you reckon has a better chance of even finishing at top four? Just not playing it off number 5, number 6.
It's a very tough one, very tough one. But uh, I think United have the edge still. Despite of Arsenal having such a great transfer window, I think United still have the edge with the quality of players that they have in their squad. I mean, it's going to be a tough season for them. They have to rebuild under Ten Hag now. Top four is very tough, and even with the new philosophy, players they do lack consistency, and no world class midfielders have been signed yet. Even Pogba has departed, and they haven't done really anything to replace him. But even
Yeah,
Arsenal, for that matter, they did look good in the window, and they had some decent start in the pre-season with. Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko. But they have had their ups and downs. Even last season, they had a horrible start last season, and they had to recover in the end, and then in the end they dropped again. So even that team, lacks consistency under Mikel Arteta.
absolutely.
So it's a
Because
really tough
you
one.
were right in pointing out, Eric Ten Hag and the consistency was there. But then Arsenal this time has got a better squad, right? Overall squad depth has been better. Gabriel Jesus, looks like the player what they wanted. Martin Odegaard, they got the future in Saka, Odegaard, Emil Smith Rowe, Martinelli there. and they've got a good midfielder, Thomas Partey now. Uh, how do you see them rotating? Because Premier League is a long, long season. Anything can happen there,
Definitely.
and also with the World Cup year, injuries might mount in, and also they're playing the Europa League as well this season. So,
No,
do you reckon they'll be
Arsenal are
contending?
not playing Europa League this
They are,
season.
they are playing the Europa League.
Sorry, yeah, Arsenal are playing Europa League, yeah, this season. Yeah,
Yeah,
so I think it's going to be a tough run of fixtures for Arsenal. They do have, I mean, the depth in the squad is there. But with the new signings, I think they can cope and come in fifth or sixth, as we discussed.
right.
And even Newcastle, I mean, even the other clubs, you never know. Some surprise club might enter the top six with the Premier League being so unpredictable.
Absolutely. We have to talk about the conference league, before we end the live. Let's talk about, because conference league is also a relevant competition at this point of time. And also the top half. Let's talk about the other teams as well. We have placed Newcastle to be finishing in the conference league position. I know they've undergone a takeover, a lot of expectations from the fans of Newcastle, because it's been a long time since they've actually competed in Europe as well. So you reckon finally is it time for Newcastle to make it to the top half of the table, because it's been
Definitely, I
years
think
of
the new
misery for
Arab
them.
ownership, seems really, really, really promising, and they've
Yep,
held on to their good players. They haven't got crazy with spending at least till now, but they've held on to all their good players. Like Sean Longstaff has, signed more years. He's renewed his contract. They've made some
yep,
smart signings like Matt Target, Kieran Trippier is also in the squad,
yep,
and they've held on to all their players. So it's a promising
yep.
season for Newcastle. But
Right.
I think. It's a tough one, even though we think that they'll finish in the Conference League. As we said, even the other teams, Aston Villa, West Ham, Leicester, Leeds, really really good. So the top half is really really competitive this time.
Absolutely, there's no doubt about it, because we have also placed teams like Aston Villa, West Ham, Leicester, and also Leeds to be finishing in the top half as well, because they've promised good things throughout the course of the season, and last season also you saw some great signs for them. And Leeds United, okay, Anath, coming to you, putting you on the spot right now before we end the live. If you were to pick up one underdog team to do really well, even to finish in top five, top six, who could it be from the entire Premier League table this time?
I think I think Villa definitely, because Steven Gerrard. I mean, he's always been a great manager since Rangers, and even now Coutinho signing on a permanent deal. They've got Boubacar Kamara coming in
Yeah,
from Marseille, who's been a good player, good
yeah.
defensive midfielder. So I think Villa do have a chance of entering that top six teams. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, even Brendan Rodgers, Leicester, but I think Leicester, after selling Peter Schmeichel, I mean, they've sold Schmeichel now, who was their savior, and their set pieces haven't been really good. They've conceded 16 goals from set
Yeah.
pieces, from corners, only
Yeah.
corners last season. So, and having said that, again, Leicester are the only team, who beat Liverpool last season. One of the two
Yeah.
teams. So it's a very, very unpredictable bout, but I think these teams collectively will make up the top half. That's Newcastle after Conference League, and I'm not sure about the order here, but I think
Yeah.
Villa, even West Ham, David Moyes had a great start last season, but
Mm.
he was able to collect
Yeah,
only
they're going to
11
be having a
points
tough
in
start
the
to the
last
season. They're
11
going to be up
games.
against City, right? First up, they're going to be up against City, who they
Right.
actually leveled scores in the last meeting they had. They had a good game against City last time around. They made sure City dropped points as well, and City
Yes.
is coming off a loss against Liverpool. So, how important is it to get off to starts? Because as we're entering, before we end the live, how important is it going to be to get off to good starts in this season and to maintain the momentum?
No, I think it's very important, and if you want to keep competing in all these tournaments, like now West Ham, they'll be playing in the Conference League, so they'll have another tournament to prepare for, and they don't have such depth in their squad, uh, to be honest. So I think, yeah, so I think that's how the top half will look like after new after the top six. I think Newcastle, Villa, West Ham, Leicester, and Leeds will
Yeah,
take up till 11th place,
I mean,
and then from
this is the
12th
best
place
prediction we
onwards,
could
if you
actually
see, we
bring
have
up, isn't it?
Wolves. Sorry.
I mean, this is the best prediction we could bring up, because this is just a guesswork. But then we are hoping that it comes true, because there are a lot of permutations and combinations, and anything can happen,
Definitely.
because that's how Premier League works, isn't it?
Right, definitely anything can happen. and all we can do is a bit of research and predict using the past data. But at
Yeah,
the end of the day, those 11 players on the pitch right there, it's up to them. So anything can happen. So moving forward, I think 12th place. Let's talk about 12th to 15th place.
yeah. I mean, I think, right now, as we are predicting, I would rather have Wolves and Everton. I have a feeling Everton might just get relegated this season. What do you reckon about that? Yes, go ahead,
I,
Anand.
I think it's going to be quite tough for Everton because they had quite a horrible season last year. And now they've lost Richarlison and Cenk Tosun, and the additions they haven't been that great. They finished 16th last season. I'm sure there will be some improvement from 16th, but I
Yeah,
don't think much. So I think Everton will finish 13th after Wolves. I think Wolves will finish 12th. They did lose Roman Saiz and Fabio Silva, but they've got some good signing in defense. They signed Collins from Burnley for 20 million. Even Jose Sa, fantastic season. What a goalkeeper, Jose Sa. I mean,
absolutely.
great season. And even their star player, Ruben Neves, again had a fantastic season last year. So it's still going to be about rebuilding for Wolves. They'll be lucky to get a top half finish, I think. I think
And
if
it's gonna be very, very
Leeds or
interesting as
Leicester
well
really
because,
slip up, only then.
alongside Wolves can also be Brentford, right? Brentford had a decent uh, season last time around where they actually,
I think that
they
was
could have,
thanks to Christian Eriksen that they had a great season because he made a really positive impact. Manager, he'll have one of those second season syndromes which has tormented so many teams in the past who have been, promoted for the first year and managed to survive in the first year. So many
yeah,
teams have got relegated, in the past in their second season of playing in the top competition, one of the top leagues in Europe. So I think
absolutely.
they'll line up like Wolves, Everton, Brentford, and
Yeah.
Fulham. That's still 15th
Interesting.
place.
Interesting to put Fulham there because Fulham is coming off, coming from the Championship, and if they can survive the Premier League this time around, it's going to be very interesting. Who do you reckon will get relegated? Because that's an interesting, because we talk about the top half, but it's as much as interesting to watch this relegation battle as well. Because you saw the last season, it went down to the wire where Everton and Leeds survived the relegation. We are going to put Brighton there. Any specific reason now, like why we are putting Brighton? Because they were going to be missing out on two main major players. One is Kukurea
Definitely.
coming off, maybe going to Chelsea, and also Bissouma, who has left the club as well.
Bissouma.
Now,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so he's gone. So it remains to be seen what they can do without him. I mean, Graham Potter really needs to work hard to stay out of the bottom six. I think you have to bet against someone. So I'll choose Brighton because, they haven't been so great. They haven't looked so good. And they have been in the Premier League. I think the time has run out now in the Premier League. I
yeah.
think the promoted clubs, will really show some metal. Even before we talk about the relegated clubs, I think we should talk about 16th place and 17th place.
Now
I think
let's
on
talk about
16th,
that club. Who has made it
Palace,
to the Premier League? It's Nottingham Forest after a very long wait. Let's just not forget
23
they're
years.
two-time European champions as well. So they have long history, great fans, and they're finally back in the Premier League after the longest awaited. It's one of my favorite teams as
23
well to watch.
years. It's
Yeah.
been
So
23 years
how
since
excited
Nottingham
are
played.
you, and can they actually pull off a surprise? Because we've
I
seen it with
think
teams who comes into the Premier League, they come with a lot of momentum, a lot of expectations, and they play with a fearless brand, right? So can they actually pull out a surprise by finishing even in the mid-table if possible?
Yeah, I think they'll survive I think they'll survive relegation. I think that's that much they can do. Nottingham. I mean, they've signed Jesse Lingard, and he was great at West Ham last season when he was on loan. I think
Yeah,
staying in the biggest league in the world, as we discussed earlier, will be their biggest goal, and I think they will be good enough to do that. I'm really excited to see Nottingham Forest. I
I
think
mean, me too.
after Crystal Palace at 16th, we'll have Nottingham Forest, sorry, just beating a relegation at 17th.
I mean, if they can beat the relegation, it's going to be a great story. And if they can finish a little more higher, they'll be very happy with the season because it's their first Premier League season after a long time. And they would want to get back the long lost to the history as well. Now, they've made a big signing in Jesse Lingard for sure. Uh, let's just hope that, he has a bigger role to play in that club. Having said that, Anand, it was great talking to you about this because, all what we can do is predict. And if our predictions come true, we can definitely post these snippets out there and say that our predictions did come true. And we've got a long season ahead, so we do not know what's going to happen at the end of the season. And do guys remember that you can play all these fantasy contests with Boomer 11 for absolute free. Of course, you have zero financial risk. And do remember, tomorrow it kicks off tomorrow, 11 p.m. GST is where the first match is going to be kicked off between Arsenal and Crystal Palace. And from there on, it's going to be an exciting weekend of some great games. You're going to have City taking on West Ham as well, so that's a major game to watch. And next week you're going to be having Tottenham in action against Chelsea as well. So, Anand, final thoughts before we end?
I think really, really excited, and really excited to play as well every match on Boomer 11. It makes the even more, like, makes watching football so much more thrilling when you have, some your team, your favorite players, and your prediction running on the game. The adrenaline
Absolutely.
is really fun. So I can't wait for the season to start tomorrow, and yeah,
Yeah.
I can't wait to win some prizes this year on Boomer 11.
Absolutely, and we are excited about it because you can just get on the app. The link is right there in the description. Click on it and play it. Thank you, guys. Have a good time.
Good night, Abel.
Good night.